That's on me. Now you good.
Oh, thank you. You look so surprised. So you look so good. I love my people.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Every day they've been asking, you gonna go? You gonna go? I'm going!
Welcome back to Paths. I'm your host, Jael Benjamin. This is season 2, y'all. And we were here with our special guest, Khalimah Gaston. Give a round of applause for that.
Thank you, Louise.
Actress, producer, and really just a creative genius. I mean, I want to know where this path starts. I heard it was in Jamaica, Queens, but I want to know, how do you get from Jamaica, Queens all the way out to LA?
Wow. So I did start off in Jamaica, Queens. Thank God I'm from New York. But I made it here because of God. He put it on my heart that I would live here one day. And I always knew that. Like, I would watch shows like Moesha and Girlfriends, and I'm like, where do they live? Because that don't look like New York, but I know I want to be there. The palm trees, the weather, but also the energy and the surfing and all the cool things that come with living in LA. I knew that was a part of my lifestyle. And so now I'm here.
Absolutely. So when you were younger, did you always know you wanted to be an actress?
Yes. Yes. I knew I wanted to be a performer. I didn't know what exactly, but I knew that my mom would always tell me I would go to any restaurant anywhere and I would start singing everything about Michael Jackson. I would start performing every scene from Free Willy. I would start performing everything from Tina Turner, What's Love Got to Do with It.
Yeah.
And I think when I saw that movie and watching Angela Bassett's performance, I'll never forget, we moved from my house over in by 40 projects. We never lived in the projects, but we lived real close. And we moved further down by Jamaica Avenue, but everyone was packing, and I was the youngest of all my siblings, so I didn't have to do nothing. And I was watching What's Love Got to Do with It on the floor as we moved into our new home at like 8. I had no business. And I'm watching it, and I was like, yo, I want to be her. And I told my mom, I want to be her. And she was just like, you can't be her. She's being somebody else. And I was like, well, I just want to do that. Like, that feeling of empowerment that I got from watching it, I just knew I would do that one day.
Wow. And I mean, in watching, I mean, that's a moving film, right? Like, What's Love Got to Do with It is not the dynamicness of Angela Bassett in that video and in that film.
She was robbed of that Oscar. Carry on.
You know, and so I was thinking, what does that look like when you went to school, right? When you showed up in those spaces, how did that impact you wanting to be an actress? How did that desire influence the decisions you made in terms of your education?
Here's the thing, though. As much as I knew I wanted to be a performer, when you're a kid, you need your parents to help you do those things. Yeah. Someone has to take you to practices, someone has to pay and invest. And my mom was a single mom with 5 kids. She was just not going to do it. It was hard to do anything after school. It was tough. And then you live in Jamaica, Queens. I'm taking the buses and trains by myself since 7 years old. So it just wasn't really in the cards, but I still liked performing. So Thanksgivings, I would do performances from whatever favorite movie or song or album. My cousins and I would do dances, which is every black girl's rite of passage. You got to make up a dance with your cousin at least once. And so we did. And I would do that. And, you know, my family egged me on, but no one was really investing into me to do it more. Yeah. So I remember one time I lied about wanting to join a reading club at school so I can do this play. Okay. And the thing was, I really did join the reading club, but I was doing both. Gotcha. And eventually, when it came to performances and like rehearsals, my mom was like, "You gotta be home by 4 p.m." Well, then I couldn't do it no more, so I just stopped. But then I moved to Virginia in like 2006, and I remember I finished out my last year of like schooling with my grandmother, and it was just like a weird time. But the cool thing was, God knew I needed to be separated from my family so I could really grow into who I wanted to be. When I got to Virginia, my grandmother invested everything into me. And she's always been my favorite. And I've always been her favorite. So I already knew what time it was. And she let me do plays. She paid for me to do extra acting school stuff outside of school. And after that, I was like, I'm going back to New York, and I'm going to go to school full time for this. And I'm just going to be an actor. I don't care.
Yeah. And is that what landed you in the film and theater program?
I went back to New York, and I signed up for the spring semester because I missed like starting at fall. Yep. And I remember, man, just looking up that school, I went to the New York Conservatory for Dramatic Arts. Super white. When I tell you super white, I mean it's a 3-year program, but I was one of 4 black people in the whole school. And one of 3 of them were girls. So it was just like one black guy and then me and these other 2 black girls, and only one was from New York. Everyone in my school was from an international place. No one had ever really grown up or lived in New York or knew anything about it, but I did. But experiencing New York from that school's perspective was so different. I mean, being in Jamaica, Queens, or even Brooklyn was one thing, but going to school in Manhattan full time, taking the trains back and forth, learning the systems, learning the different dynamics of being in school life, and then going back to Jamaica, Queens was very different. And so I remember we had to do like stuff together as, you know, you're in school, you got to rehearse. Nobody wanted to come to Jamaica, Queens, all the way from Manhattan or Brooklyn. So I was always out there. And eventually I realized, like, okay, you are different than these other people. But at the same time, you know, you have to find your own way, because these white teachers are trying to teach you one thing. And as much as some of it was true, as far as finding who you are, a lot of it did not resonate with me about who I knew I really was, though. You know, in terms of the material they gave me, in terms of the way they wanted me to talk or dress or act. And I just didn't. I just wouldn't do it. I felt like if I'm gonna pay for school and figure this out, I'm doing it my way. And so that gave me friction being in school at times, but I think that everyone respected it and appreciated it. And they couldn't really tell me, no, you're all white male teachers. What do you know about me as a black young girl from Jamaica, Queens? You don't.
And I think it's valuable to have that experience, because then you went and proved everybody wrong, right? And what they believed about you. You're in commercials, voice acting, television, film, you're playing in all these different spaces. Can you talk to us about those different positions? Like, what do they look like? What's acting in commercials versus television, film versus voice acting? Like, what are those different jobs?
Well, doing film is like, that's my first love. I love the completion of things. I love the beginning, middle, end of things. Television is so different because it goes on forever. But more importantly, you don't really ever know the character's journey because it's ongoing. Whereas with film and TV, it's like, this is who they are, this is where they start, where they end up, and then how they complete. So I love that because I'm a Leo. I want to know what's going on. I want to know when, where, who. So that was cool. And I think that that's different because I get to build a character. And it's such a supportive environment being in a film set that I love that. I love building family and community. Whereas with a commercial, you might be there for a day or two. The commercial copy is so much shorter in terms of what you're actually working on. And a lot of times it's upbeat, you know, and it's just like, oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. And it's fun, you know, you're smiling. And at that time I had big curly black hair, so it was just like, oh my God, you're the girl next door. And I would always get mistaken for Tracee Ellis Ross all the time. Love her. But I knew I wanted to create my own identity. And then doing voice acting is so cool. I don't know if you know this, I have a very unique voice. And I love it because it does separate me from most women or most girls at the time. I have a certain quality to my voice. So I remember we had to do a voiceover reel in school. And when I did it, I thought, yeah, this is something I want to do. And when I got to Atlanta, I ended up booking a couple projects to do voiceovers for like the Atlanta Bread Company or someone's projects that were like more internal, industrials, things like that. And I thought, yeah, I could do this too. It's very fun. I can go show up in pajamas. I can show up with no makeup. I can just show up and have fun and just be. And there's a huge quality to that I think we overlook when it comes to acting, that people can feel you just from your voice. You don't even have to do anything. Your voice is so powerful of a tool that's necessary as an artist. And so when you do these 3 different mediums, they all allow you to do something very different with your body and with your instrument.
And I mean, in talking about bringing all those talents together, right? And creating that identity. Once you kind of have that firm foundation in who you are, a little birdie might have told me.
I don't want to hear about no birdies. Who told you?
Might have told me that you then like went on your path to bring creatives together, right? Starting your own platform and space. I want to say space for people to come together in Atlanta. And now, you know, I'm hearing expansion. Now it's happening in LA. Could you talk us through like some of the ideas that went through your head and like, how did you do it? Like,
God, like honestly, all of it has been God. I don't take any credit for any of it because I know that it would come to me. I would feel it in my heart, or more importantly, I would just see visions. And I've always been someone to dream. And I mean that literally, not just like have a daydream or like an idea, but I would always have dreams. And younger me would have dreams that were kind of ongoing.
Yeah.
They never really ended. Like I would go to sleep and it's kind of like picking up where you left off. And I was like, this is so strange because should dreams do that? You know, like shouldn't you just have a dream and it's over? But sometimes I would have the same dream over, or I would have a dream where I would kind of see my old self and now I'm somewhere else. When I got to Atlanta, a lot of that stuff had manifested.
Yeah.
And one of the things was I wanted community and I wanted mentorship. So I did what every actor did. I worked at a restaurant and I hated it because I didn't move there for that. So I quit. But the thing was the owner really took a liking to me and he said, you know, one, he's from New York and he's a Jamaican guy. So he was like, look, you get it. I don't know what it is, but you get it. Yeah. And you don't need to be working here. And so at first I was a host. And then I just wanted to serve. I was a host, then I was an event planner, then I was his personal assistant. Then he just took me to every position. Like, we're going to find something because there's something about you that I know adds value. Yeah. And so I did it because I knew I could get my terms. But eventually I realized, like, it ain't about the money. I didn't move here for this. I don't want to do this anymore. And I quit. And 2 weeks later, he called me back and said, what do you really want to do? And I was like, I don't know. He said, well, come in for a meeting. Let's just talk. Got there, it was him and the event planner for the space. And we just brainstormed for like an hour. I'm thinking I'm helping them create something. And he goes, cool, you came up with this idea. Now go do it. And I was like, I came up with the idea for you, not for me. And he was like, yeah, but since it's your idea, who else can follow through on this but you? And I was like, yeah, but I'm doing it for you. He's okay, what do you need? I'll pay you to do it. I'll give you the space upstairs. He's going to be your event manager. I'll get a DJ. And I was just like, why are you forcing me to do an event? I'm an actress. And he was like, but look, you're bigger than that. You can be Oprah. You can be anything you want. He said, Oprah creates opportunities, not just for herself, but for others. Yeah. And by having her own stuff, people have to come play with her. Create your own stuff. People have to come play with you. Stop waiting for someone to tell you, you know, stop waiting for someone to tell you you've been chosen and choose yourself. And at the time, I didn't understand it. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to help you out. I'll do this event. And the event idea was he wanted to do movies upstairs while people eat dinner. And it was summertime. And I'm like, the Fox Theater's around the corner. Ain't nobody coming over here when they can go to the movies and go there. He's like, yeah, but food. And I'm like, but you don't even have the licenses to show people stuff and charge. And that's illegal. Yeah. So he was like, well, what do you suggest? And I said, you know, I'm new here, but I met a lot of really dope creatives who make their own stuff. We could just show their stuff and pay them. And that could be the whole thing. He said, okay, cool. What do you want to pay them? And I said, maybe your food. We can give them like vouchers and gifts. He's like, okay, fine. How much? And I was like, I don't know, $100. And he was like, okay. And I was just like, this guy is so intent on making me do something. Wow. When I tell you, I have not stopped doing that since that day. I haven't stopped.
So you've been putting payment in the Path Pals pockets.
Yes.
Wow.
Path Pals, for sure.
The Path Pals pockets. Yeah. So what are some of the like key moments for you that happened as you were piloting and kicking off the screening room ATL and now the screening room LA?
My babies. My children.
Yeah.
Haven't been fortunate enough to be a mom yet, but it felt like I was really giving birth to something. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what, but it was building community. That's what it was. It was about building community beyond me for people that really needed it. I had been in Atlanta for maybe a year at that time. And I realized I knew so many dope creatives. They were so cool and just making all this dope art. But when I would talk about one of them to the other, they didn't even know each other. And I'm like, I'm new here. How do you not know it? You both live here. You've been living here, doing this thing. Creating Screening Room brought everyone together. And all I ever wanted from that was that we would have a safe space to create as Black artists, a safe space to show our work and give feedback in an honest way, but also just to know who else is creating around us and how can we do it together. So it always made me so happy when I would find out people found their cast at Screening Room, or they found their new production company, you know, partner, or they found any missing link that they really needed for their project to be completed at Screening Room.
Wow. I mean, what is that application process? Or is there an application process?
No application process.
How you get in? Like.
So there used to be an application process. But even with that, I didn't want to, right? Yeah. It was like I needed sponsorship so the thing could sustain. So let me go back. Screening Room ATL, shout out to my mentor, Sim Walker. He's the one that allowed me to use his space, who paid me, who gave me a platform in a way. If I wanted talent, like top tier talent there, he would pay for them to come. I was just like, this is so cool. However, I still didn't really fully see the value in it. I just knew I was called to do it, and so I would do it because it seemed easy.
Yeah.
But I did it every single Wednesday for 2 years. Every single Wednesday. Never missed it, never not did it. Even if I left the town, I would have someone else run it, but it was there. I wanted people to know that they can count on it to show up for them. Yeah. And that was cool.
I mean, talk about mentorship, but mentorship plus sponsorship, right?
Ooh, yeah.
There's a lot of people who will give you some good advice. It's another thing if somebody pulls out their money and says, hey, I trust you with it.
Yeah,
and if I have it, you have it.
See, and even that, I didn't think about that at the time. I just knew, okay, fine, if you're gonna give me money to do it, I'll do it. Because it's better than working here as a server, so I get to be here every Wednesday, and it was honestly such a blessing.
Yeah.
That little seed I created or planted, you know, I didn't know what it was, I just knew that it had to happen. Yeah. And it evolved, you know, because it's new, so I had to figure out new ways to make it whatever it needed to be. And so the first year was really trial and error. I just took every week as a new opportunity to figure it out. I just walked in faith and just knew, okay, God, protect me. What we doing today? And it was like, okay, we're showing these 5 projects. And, you know, the very first screening room, 10 people showed up. Eight people. I was number 9, and then the bartender was 10. So 10 people showed up, and I thought, okay, I'm trying this out. And then the next week, it was 20 people. And then the next week, and he said, I'm going to keep giving you money to keep investing in it because clearly it's growing. It's something. Yeah. And I didn't think I saw it as something until Omar Dorsey of Queen Sugar came out to do a finale episode of Queen Sugar with us. I mean, I said it, but I didn't think he would do it. And he did. He flew back home for Thanksgiving because he was coming home anyway to Atlanta, where he's from. Yeah. And he co-hosted Screening Room with me the day before Thanksgiving. The day before Thanksgiving of the first year I ever did it. And brought out half his cast. And then half his friends. When I tell you that building was packed. It was packed with like 300 people in there. The whole restaurant was full. They were trying to eat downstairs and have dinner, and he's like, look, we can't even, can you just show the projects on the screens downstairs? Because everyone's asking. And I think that's when I realized, like, oh, this is so much bigger than what I thought it was. Yeah. Because if someone like him can see value in co-hosting it and showing his content here with us, it means a lot. And I gave a lot of the other creatives an opportunity to show their work in front of him and his Hollywood friends, and made it about us, you know. It was never about celebrity or anything else. It's always about the community first. And then we can worry about that later because they have their flowers. They're already where they want to be. We're the ones still working toward that. And so with sponsorship, it allows it to be free, you know, for me to do it, for me to be able to create spaces without worrying about, well, how can I afford this, or where can I do it and who's going to come? Yeah. He sponsored it. But with his mentorship in business is what allowed me to become a smart artist and not just I didn't want to be a starving artist. I wanted to be a thriving artist. Yeah. And I was able to do that with sponsorship and mentorship. Yeah.
And I mean, going from 9 to 300 to, I'm sure, the thousands, right? So many people who come and left. How did that space really push you forward along your path, right? They say you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far?
Go together.
Go together.
And there you have it.
How did that help you as an actress?
You know, for a long time, I was like, this is never going to help me as an actress. People going to think I'm a host now, and I don't even want to host. But the cool thing was, then I started creating art with the artists there. So then I could show content I was in. And then all of a sudden, people were like, oh, snap, you do that too? I'm like, I do that first. What do you mean? This is all just so I could do that? But the cool thing was is that it resonated with me that we're never given just one talent. Yeah. You know, we have so many talents that God has given you. And it's so sad that a lot of times we think, I'm good at this one thing, I got to do that. But really, you're probably good at a billion things you just never even tried. Yeah. But with Screening Room, it allowed me to try so much stuff and realize that I'm great at so many things. And why limit myself? Yeah. So it really encouraged my acting because it made me build community with other artists who trusted me, but also knew that I was creating a space of service. And then wanted to also service me by then putting me in their content. Or, I mean, it was so amazing at one point in Atlanta where people were like, can you be in my project? We'll pay you. And it was just happening all the time. But that took time, like he said, create a table and they'll start coming to you. Yeah. Rather than you waiting for someone to be like, hey, can I audition? I didn't have to audition for the last year of living in Atlanta. It just became a thing of like, oh, you do Screening Room. Yeah, let's just put her in this thing. And I was like, holy smokes, is this how Oprah feels?
But how did Screening Room get out to LA? How did you get out to LA?
The plan was never to go to Atlanta. That's the thing. I never meant to be there. it was God's plan.
Yeah.
God did. God did, because my brother lived there for about 9 years, and I have 6 siblings. I grew up with all of them. Okay. So having family around and community is so natural to me. When I don't have it, it's weird. So I knew my brother really missed his sister. So he said, before you go to LA, just stop through and just see what's up. Like, maybe you might like it here because there's a huge community thriving here of artists and like film. And I'm like, no, it's not. I'm going to LA. Girl, there was a snowstorm one day in March and in New York, and I said, I can't do this. And I didn't plan to go to LA yet, but I'm not staying here. So I went to Atlanta, and I was like, I'm giving it a year, and I'm out of here after a year. Girl, I was there for 3.5 years. And it was incredible, because only a year in is when I created Screening Room. And a year and a half after that is when I was able to not work and just do Screening Room and just do my art, just create more opportunities for myself and others. And that's what I had always wanted. So it was like a no-brainer, like stay here for a little bit, but don't get too comfortable, because this is never the destination. And so next thing you know, had a breakup. Why is always a breakup that like prompts us to do something?
It's gonna push you forward on that path.
So child, that's what pushed me forward to LA. I said, oh, we're over, bye. And I left. I immediately left because I had never intended to be there that long. And that last half of the year was because I was in a relationship that was not serving my overall purpose. And so at some point I said, okay, well look, I'm gonna wait for you to go to LA, but if you don't come, and then we broke up, I literally just called my best friend at the time. She was like, pull up, you can stay in my spot, don't worry about it. And I stayed on her couch for a month. After that, I got a place, and I've been here ever since.
Wow.
Yeah. And the crazier thing is that best friend, I met her at Screening Room. She came to that one with Omar Dorsey the day before Thanksgiving. And that's what, again, creating the thing that God put on me allowed me to then walk in my purpose, which was I want to end up in LA. I don't know why I'm here in Atlanta, but since I am here, I'm gonna be of service. And next thing you know, he's like, I'm servicing you while you're being of service for me. Mm-hmm. And so I was able to move here so smoothly, it was ridiculous. It happened. And when I tell you, I couldn't have planned it any better.
Yeah. What made that transition smooth? Was it, you already knew people
Community.
Here? Yeah.
Community, tribe, people who said, I mess with you and I'm your friend, and so we're gonna figure it out. Whatever you need. You need a job, you need somewhere to stay, you need other friends, what do you need to make this work? And I thought, I don't know what I need, but I'm a walk in faith, and I'm gonna pull up and we gonna see what's gonna happen. And I didn't even have to see what was gonna happen. They already knew, they had a plan for me. Yeah. They welcomed me in a way that if I had came here and didn't know anybody, it would have felt lonely. It would have been scary. It would have been tough. It would have been a lot of things that a lot of horror stories are for moving to LA. Yeah. And I didn't have to experience any of it.
It just went right over.
It was smooth. It was smooth. It was smooth.
So talk to me about RBJ management.
Oh, RBJ was like my second managers. Girl, I went to so many managers. Let me tell you this, y'all. If something don't work, don't be afraid to fix it. Yeah. And I think there have been other guests here who mentioned, you've got to do what's right for you, and that those people who are on your team, you don't work for them, they work for you. It took me some time to really, digest, because when you're first starting out, you're like, I just want an agent. Mm-hmm. I just want a manager. Anybody, help me, roll with me, F with me, like, help me. And when I left at New York, it was because trying to become SAG, girl, it's like, okay, I want to be SAG. However, I can't get a SAG project unless I'm SAG, and yet I can't become SAG unless I get a project. So I left. Went to Atlanta, where it's a right-to-work state, which means that there are no unions there. They're not heavy. Yeah. So no one can force you to be a part of a union to work. Okay. And I was able to book a commercial, a movie, and a voiceover job all in 6 months. And I became a must join. And so when I moved out here, I was already able to just join SAG because I was SAG eligible since my first project in Atlanta. And it just kept flowing. It was overflow. And RBJ played a huge part in that because it was a friend of mine who recommended her. And I met with her family, not just her whole family, because they're a family business. She's like, I rep my son, but I'm very close with my family, so come in and let's see how we all vibe. And they're still like family to me. She doesn't rep me anymore, but she definitely did a lot in championing me and keeping me encouraged. And when I got out here, letting me know, like, I'm still supporting you and I'm gonna help you do whatever I can do. And I learned a lot with her, so I'm grateful for that. But now I'm with David Morrow Ventures, which is my lawyer, but he's also my manager.
Gotcha.
And then I'm with ASAP Talent, who is my agents here. But in Atlanta, I had about 6 agents, child. I went through them because I was like, nope, doesn't work. Who do you think I am? Nope, I don't see myself that way. Because it's so important that I be represented the way that I felt. You know, I wanted to be true to me and true to the type of projects I wanted to do. And a lot of times you get roles or you get auditions and you feel like I have to do it. But the truth is, if it doesn't speak to you, or if it's not honest, or if it's not something that you want to be a part of, just say no. Yeah. And so it took me time, but eventually I just started saying no, whether it was agents or auditions or anything. And I started to feel bad about it. And then I realized I'm saying no for a reason. I have to honor that. Yeah. And so now I'm here.
I mean, community, you came here with the eligibility, like with the credit and the credentials that you needed. I mean, I feel like at this moment, it's a perfect time to honestly, like, I don't got no flowers in hand, but to give you your flowers, right? Aww. I mean, you came here with the community. You brought people together who felt lonely, sad, depressed, like no one could understand how they was feeling. And you did that. And you've now expanded doing that. Yeah. And not only did you bring these people together, it was that collaboration that made them believe in themselves and even exposed them to how you believe in yourself.
True.
And made them move differently. And you came here with the credentials. I mean, even us sitting here on this set is a testament to your dedication, your consistency, your quality of excellency, right? Like past, you met Christian Robinson, one of the founders, Everybodies, the other team that's collaborating on this project at the screening room, at a place you created, right?
Yeah.
We have to do your flowers.
I did. Ivan, who also, you know, I know is a part of this as well, he met Terrell at MySpace, but I remember Ivan would consistently show up and be like, what you need? Like, what you got going on? I'm like, what do you do? Like, who are you? And he had cameras and he just had stuff. And he's like, whatever you need. And I was like, okay, who is this guy? And then I just appreciated the consistency of all those wonderful men that you mentioned who always stayed in my corner. They may not have been there every day of my life, but when I needed them or when I was even in search of things I didn't know, they just showed up. And so that's a testament to who they were and who God was pulling us all to do, which was build community, because this had to happen. Yeah. And that couldn't have happened if he didn't see Terrell's movie that he directed at Screening Room.
Wow.
So thank you, God. Thank you so much, God. Because now I get to be here and be interviewed by my friends.
Hey. I mean, Khalimah, you're always serving others, right? What does a pause on your path look like when you're able to really, you know, serve yourself, love on you?
Spa days are God's way of saying I love you. And then I think, honestly, during the pandemic, I learned how to surf. And that has been so therapeutic, just being able to sit in water, sit in stillness. And something about the ocean just recharges you anyway. So just being there, I feel God so much closer. I think LA in general, I was like, God, he loved LA. He said, I'm gonna make, well, California, he just made it in a way that was so, you can really get whatever you need from here. So being here, I can go to the mountains, I can go to the beach, I can go to the desert, and I've done it. And all those things help recharge me, but also, I'm a creative in every sense of the word. I designed clothes growing up. I used to do hair growing up. I have any type of art form, I used to do fine arts. Like, I thought I was gonna be an illustrator for many years of my life, until my uncle told me I wasn't good enough. Don't listen to y'all uncles. But the truth was, I didn't believe him, but I knew, like, okay, well, if you don't think I'm good enough for this, what can I do that will allow me to do all the things I love to do? And so acting was that. And honestly, I love to unwind with still art. I still love watching movies or writing. I love creating. I love creating vibes, good vibes.
Good vibes only.
Purred.
What do you love about yourself?
I honestly love that I am made in the image of God. I am so grateful for that, because whenever I am confused about who I am or what I'm supposed to be doing, when I can look in the mirror and remember that I have purpose and that I was created here in this time and this day for this thing, it fulfills me to know, like, how can you not love you? You're so dope. Like, so many people love you because you're dope. How could you ever have a question that that's not because he knew you was supposed to be here? Yeah. So knowing I'm in God's image makes me feel really good about myself.
I mean, Y'all have to keep that going because we're looking at
going.
the image. Someone who's made in God's image. Hello.
Thank you, Keith.
Khalimah Gaston.
Oh, one more thing. I wrote a book because I'm tired of my community not knowing how to play spades. So I remembered in the pandemic that I had time today. And I wrote a book. So if ever you want to learn, so boom. You want to learn how to play spades. And it's a really quick read. It's like 20 pages, but there's pictures, there's rules, there's memes, all of that. I got y'all covered. And y'all kids, I know you don't even know what spades is. Ask your mama and your daddy to buy you this book, because they probably don't know either. Only on Amazon.
And do not sit at the spades table in your path if you do not know how
Get
to
on
play
up, run
and
it.
if you do not know how to go and cop this book. Y'all, give her another round. Thank you so much for gracing our path. Peace out, path people.
Bye, guys.
Aphrodite, then this, her rapper, messy colors, never become business. I love Aphrodite, then this, her rapper, messy colors, never become business. I love it when you couscous, love it when you couscous, love it when you couscous, couscous. Love it, 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 I love it when you cook it. Love it, 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 love I love it when you cook it. Love it, love, I love it, love, I love it, love, I love it when you love it, love it, love I love it when you cook it.